you have a question about it?
How do we manifest?
Wow, that's loaded.
How,
I thought we answered that.
Well, I actually think it's a compilation of everything that we've talked about. Self-awareness, contrast, pain and struggle, and then also empowerment to believe we have the ability to really create our own reality.
and to understand that we are creating our own reality whether you like it or not. So you're constantly manifesting. What you want to do is, how do I manifest the things I actually want and not the things I'm doing by default?
Yeah.
And the problem is, as soon as you have that perspective, you focus on the things you don't
You
have.
don't have.
And really, that's why I really like the Abraham teachings on manifesting, because they say get into the feeling.
So let me share a story. So I was at a networking event the other night, and they were doing prizes. So we all got a ticket, and we could stay around to win a prize afterwards. So they were saying what it was, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's fun. Oh, that would be great, and I kind of just put my name on the ticket, and I walked away with it. Well, I was standing in the hallway when they were calling the prizes, and my thought was, it doesn't really matter if I win or not, it would be cool, but let me go get another glass of wine. And so right in the
Fun
middle,
Gladys.
Fun Gladys. So right in the middle of it, I turned around and I was walking down the hallway, and they were calling my name, and I turned around, and I was like, I wasn't really aware of it at first, and they were like, you won, and I was like, I won? What did I win? And I had won a skincare line, which they said was the most expensive and the best prize that they had. And I had totally disconnected from, I want to win, I want to win. And I remember the girl saying to me, and we have this fantastic skincare line. I love it so much. And if you want to put your business card in, and I remember having the emotion to it, but I released it as not attaching to it. And as soon as I walked away, boom, whoever was pulling the card pulled my name, and I kind of laughed. I'm like, wow, it was that easy. I had no attachment to it.
But you wanted
But the
it.
emotion was there, like, wow, that would be really great. But it wasn't, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win. And it was in that moment I realized I have to let it go. And one more thing, let me tell you. So when I was at the Tony Robbins event, he said, you should walk around with a $100 bill in your wallet. Then you always have money. And so I've been doing that. And it was funny. So another one came to me, and I was like, how fun, now I have two. And then this weekend I was at a health store, and I was buying some supplements, and I was like, I'm going to use one of these $100 bills, and it's going to be really fun to see how the universe brings it back to me. And so so that was a Saturday. This Wednesday, that was Saturday, and then so Wednesday, my mom asks me, do you have change for 100? And I said, oh, I think I do. Now I had the money in my wallet, but I wanted the 100, right? So I go, and of course I've got the 20s, and I hand it to it, and there's the $100 bill coming back to me. So again, I released that I need that $100, and I spent the $100 knowing that this is going to be fun to see how it comes back and how long it takes.
You're making it like a game.
It is, exactly.
It's all about that feeling, though. It's about, if you can get into the feeling and not be worried about the manifestations come. And it's backwards from what we want, because we want the manifestation to make us feel good. And they're saying that's not how it works.
I was already feeling good, which allowed that energy to come back in.
It's like what they talked about before, the opposite. When you're feeling stress, then the manifestation is your body feels like crap. So you guys are saying, like, get that feeling, and then it'll manifest what you want.
And it's funny, because too often,
Or what you need.
people look at like relationships that they have with family or other people, and they say, if you could just be this way, I would feel good. And we say, one of the things that they always tell me is, well, if you could feel good, you wouldn't care how they were. And if you felt good and could not expect something back from that person, then and you allow them to step into the power of who they are, now all of a sudden they can start to feel good, because they're not expected to be a certain way. And the way that they treat you, because of how you're treating them, is probably going to be more in line with what you actually wanted to begin with.
It's true. And also to get busy doing the things that you need to do, right? So sometimes it's almost like I'm hoping, wishing, dreaming, and praying for this to come in, and I'm productive procrastination. So I'm procrastinating on these other things
Right.
for lack thereof, right? So we want more money. And so what I've been doing is I've been focusing on paying down credit card debt, for example. And by focusing the attention on that and making it a game and playing with my credit score and being aware of it, money's coming to me naturally as I'm focusing on moving that energy in another way.
It's starting
Does
to
that make
manifest.
sense?
It's starting to
Yes.
manifest.
Yes, because I've diverted the attention. Now, when I started my business, I wanted clients so bad, and I wanted full classes, and I wanted to, book up. And what happened was I started to have relationship problems. And as if I diverted my attention to my relationship problems, guess what? The clients came in, and the classes filled up. And then once I focused my attention, and then of course now I want a healthy relationship, and once once I diverted the attention away from the relationship and diverted it towards my business and how it was growing, the relationship stuff started to resolve. And for me, it was a breakup, but I had diverted my attention, but I spent a lot of time focusing on it, fixing it, saving it, changing it, making better. But once I diverted the attention, just like that prize the other night, I diverted the attention, and it wasn't, I completely released it. It wasn't like I'm gonna walk away so I'll win. I completely released the attachment to it, and I didn't even get halfway down the hallway when they were calling my name, and I was just like, wow, that was so fast, just like the $100 bill. I wasn't like, oh God, I don't know if I should spend this money. I knew the supplements I was buying was going to be beneficial to me. I released the $100 bill with no attachments, and I said, hey, this will be fun to see how it comes back. And it was Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 days later, boom, it was back. So in a totally different way. So it's and once you do that, you're like, oh, I get it now. But we do get, how do I call it? I want to say like, oh, we do get amnesia, right? We forget. And I think the forgetting part is the contrast that helps us to remember again and get back in. And this is where I think they talk about the vortex. You're in it, you're out of it. I was going to say like psychic amnesia, like we know these things, but we get amnesia to it. And I think that's part of the contrast to propel us forward.
Yeah. And catch yourself
That's it.
when you find yourself thinking something that you don't want to think about. Don't get upset about it, but just kind of laugh about it and say, oh, there I go again.
Right.
And
Awareness.
Exactly.
Right?
It's awareness. Because don't forget, our brains are just computers trying to figure out the stuff. So we're all trying to figure out how to manifest. How do I go with the feelings, go with the emotion?
And
Put
if
that
you-
in there and let the universe. That sounds woo-woo, the universe, but it's energy. Energy will manifest in a different ways, and we know it does. We know our bodies manifest physical symptoms from what our minds think. If you laugh, they know that certain chemicals are released in your body and you feel great. And if you're stressed, they know certain chemicals are released in your body and it affects your health. So that mind-body connection is it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's
And
no pun intended.
you should be aware too of what you're filling your mind with. If you, for example, you want more money, financial freedom, let's say, if you want financial freedom, but yet you're watching the news and how people are suffering in the world and the hurricane and how there's, people have lost their homes, and you're on social media and people can't pay their bills, and, you're listening to songs about like sadness and poverty, you don't realize that you're filling yourself with that vibration of that energy. And it's like, how can you get from here to here when you have all this stuff going on? Right?
And you should be out working your third job.
And I think
So it's not always us. It could be the influence of society and the world that keeps that energy suppressed, which again teaches us about our empowerment. Like, I have the option to turn that off. I have the opportunity to recognize that that's not good for me, and that makes me so angry and upset, and I'm going to choose, somebody said that earlier, I'm going to choose not to watch this because I don't like the way it makes me feel.
And I think-
until I can handle it, I'm going to work on other things.
I think a really good thing you just said is like, you want to manifest money, be more specific, because if you want financial freedom, that's a specific thing. If you want money so that you can buy whatever you want, that's something different. And that's going to have repercussions too. Whatever you manifest is going to have repercussions. So the old expression, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it.
But
Okay? You've heard of that one, right?
Ding,
Yes.
ding.
thing.
We do this all the time.
But if you only get specific, though, if you can feel good about it,
Yes.
Right.
because it's all about the experience. Again, you're creating not from the thoughts that you have in your head, but how you feel about the thoughts, the whole experience that comes with that. So if you say, I want financial abundance and I want to win the lottery, and in your head, as soon as you say that, you say, well, I know only 1 out of so many billion wins the lottery. That's too specific. You can't feel good about that. But if you say, I want abundance to come into my life and I don't care how it comes, and then, I allow whatever it is. Abundance to me can be finding a quarter on the sidewalk, or it can finding this. It's funny because in my life, I'd always kind of fought the money thing. That's where I always had my blockage. But in all these other ways, so much stuff has come to us. Like if you walk into our house, half the things that we have in our house were given to us by other people. And that's a form of abundance. And people say, oh, you have that? It's like I have a VR headset my brother gave me. I've got a couch from my grandmother. I've got a treadmill from my in-laws. Most of the stuff in our house was given to us by other people because I didn't have a blockage there. That wasn't a struggle for me. I didn't focus on, I can't get a couch for free. That stuff came to me. But the money was something I always had a problem with, and now I'm working through it and I'm seeing how it comes to me and say, oh yeah, that's just.
It's acceptance.
Yeah.
If you can put out that abundance thing, I want this or something, but you have to be willing to accept it too. Because there's so many different levels. Oh, I'm not worthy of that. Oh, it's $1 million. Forget it. That's nuts. Maybe I'm only going to ask for 100,000. You know what I mean? It's like, but we start to play games with it. But you said before, and I love that, it's like the universe doesn't know, this and that. It's like, it's there.
Well, we have to remember, going back to pre-planned and destiny, we have to remember when we manifest something, there's adverse effects to it. So when I was stuck in that soul-crushing career and I wanted out, I kept saying, universe, I want freedom. I want freedom. I was jealous of the swans that got to stay and swim and I had to go to work. Every morning I would see them out there feeding, and I was jealous of them because they had freedom, right? And I kept saying, universe, send me freedom. Send me freedom. I want freedom. And I started to see things in my life that represented freedom to me.
Now she'll reincarnate as a swan next lifetime.
That's it. Every time I see the swan, I'm going to think of you.
And then what happened is, by the grace of God, I got let go from that job. I had all the freedom in the world, but not financial freedom, right? So we have to remember when something comes in, there's going to be something else. So we really have to be happy with what we have, right? So I was happy I had all this freedom, but now I had to make money and I had to survive. So you see how it can be short-lived, and we really have to be happy where we are and accept, as we were talking about, this is where I am and this is what's happening. And how can I steer the ship? Or else we can accumulate all these stuff and really never be happy, because there's always a chain reaction.
If you're happy now and you want abundance, I think the abundance is going to come to you because they realize you're grateful for what you have now, and you'll be grateful when you have it, as opposed to changing the dynamics of like, oh, I'm miserable now and I'm going to be happy when I have it. That's a big dynamic change. But it's like, something, I'm happy with my life, I'm working on it, I'm working towards goals. And then all of a sudden, when these things show up, you're going to be in that same good space, except you'll have the goals, but you'll have, they won't be up on this pedestal. It'll be like, no, I worked hard for this or something like this, and I have this money, and it won't be that huge jump.
It's like starting small.
in your physical or soul level.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's
mean to-
okay. No,
Just pops in sometimes, but it's like
They all
starting
do.
small.
it all does.
It's like starting small. Start with, if it's money, with $100 bills. Like I said, I had that 100 in my wallet in the form of 20s, but it was the $100 that I want that came to me, right? Because that was the energy to it. But again, for me, I don't have any emotion, positive or negative, $200 bills now. I used to, right? I think we did a podcast, a video on that. I used to, but now that I'm comfortable with them, they can flow to me easy. So you really have to start with baby steps. Like, I want $1 million and that'll solve all my problems. Well, you know, it might create financial abundance, but then it might like throw a monkey wrench in other areas. So this is where we have to scale back and be specific. Financial freedom, whatever that means. Nathan has abundance in his house and he's received it, and not like, let's say, in the form of money to be able to have these things, but the universe has said, you know, hey, you really need a couch, here you go. Hey, you really need a treadmill, here you go. Hey, you really need
Still need
you
that
know?
treadmill.
You're pretty good at it.
So in some way, his vibration said, that would be nice, or I'd like to have that. And he completely released it, and it allowed it to come in. You see? But when we think about it too much, when we're really focused on it, and I do that, I've done that so many times that I realized when I released the attachment to it. You know, and it's funny because they say emotion drives the manifesting and energy. And so me being a triple Cancer, all emotion, I'm saying I should be a master manifester. I should have this like pegged with all the emotion that I have. But with the ego and the energy and old effects and old beliefs, it throws a monkey wrench into it, right? So we all have that vibration. So it's not just,
Well,
you've got the emotions.
You are a master manifester. You just don't have control of your emotions to manifest what you want.
That's true. That's true. And
But,
I'm working on that.
But and one of the things I like
point.
that Abraham says was, you know, you can never be sick enough to make someone else well, and you can never be poor enough to make someone else wealthy. You know, like, think about it. You know, I've been in places where I haven't been wealthy, and I still saw poor people around me. So by me being poor, it wasn't making other people have money. So, but we have that built into it, especially a lot of people that do this kind of work and are consider themselves spiritual. They say, well, I can't have abundance because if I have this, I'm taking away from other people. And the universe is saying, you know what? Money just gets printed. They don't even have a gold standard anymore. They just print it away, so it can come to you pretty easily.
It's out there.
It's exactly. There's no limit to what you can have, and it's not taken away from other people. So you got to drop that. You know, you got to say, you know what? Everyone's on their journey, and they're going to bring into their life what works for them.
And what
for
they
me,
need.
exactly. And so for me, I'm not going to worry about where they are. I'm going to focus on where I am, and I'm going to feel good about where I am. You know, and anytime I don't feel good about it, I'm going to catch myself. I'm going to laugh at myself, and I'm going to think a thought that just makes me feel a little bit better about it. You know, just a little bit better. Say like, it's like, oh, you know, I don't have $200 bills in my wallet like Gladys. Actually, I do now, but because I started doing that
Jesus, you
too.
guys go these hundreds?
But you know, but you can say I don't have the $200 bills, but you know, I got $40, and $40 can buy me a lot of different things that I really want. You know,
Buy lottery tickets.
exactly. But you know, but then
There's your
just
million.
allow yourself to see what feels good, and whatever feels good, you know, move into that energy and stay where it feels good, and always think you know, I've got two 20s in my wallet. It'd be pretty easy for another 20 to come in. You know, sometimes you can find a $20 bill on the street. Someone might.
Really?
I want that.
Me too.
Bring me
Sometimes
more
you find
$20 bills
Sometimes
on
you
the
find
street.
it by going through Joe's wallet when he goes to the bathroom. I mean, you know.
That's why I don't have any hundreds. You guys are all like taking them.
But you know, but just whatever doesn't seem like a stretch for you,
Start
you know,
there.
be grateful about that.
Be
Start
great.
there.
You said it's like a game. Be grateful and be appreciative and let it go.
And we have to
know?
we have to be aware. We have to be aware. So I wasn't aware how much debt I had, let's say. I wasn't aware what my income was because the money was coming in and I was paying bills and the money was coming in. And so I only knew at the end of the year when I gave the stuff to the accountant and said, here you go. So now I have a bookkeeper. I have somebody who's giving me reports. I have somebody who's really monitoring it for me. And again, this is just part of the process. So I am now more aware of my situation. I'm aware of what my credit score is. And this is just related to money. I'm aware what my credit score is. I'm aware of my debt. I'm aware of how much income I'm making on a regular basis. Now I'm not focusing on it every month, but it's good to have that awareness to say, okay, because what was happening was I was saying I'd like to make X amount a year, and I was making that and it wasn't enough, and so I didn't even know, and so I was expending all this energy into something that was coming to me, but I wasn't even aware of it. So sometimes, like I said, when we pull ourselves outside, like what this person's doing, what that person's doing, what this person has, what they have, it pulls us outside of ourselves, and we're not aware of what's happening in here to be able to drive the ship in the right direction.
Didn't we have that this conversation for another show, or maybe it was off camera, about manifesting something and then letting the universe figure out how to do it?
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
This was on one of our meetings.
Right.
It wasn't on.
I know, when we
You
do
had
our
brought that
planning,
up.
we come up with the best stuff.
We
And
should
it's like-
record it.
We
We
always
should
say that we
record
should
it.
record it
Behind
because
the-
it's
behind
like
the scenes.
behind the stuff, when setting stuff up, really good stuff comes through. But so what's the deal with that? It's like we shouldn't
leaving it up to the
micromanage it?
universe.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, but
Like
You know,
it was the column of
yeah,
this
one of
is
the
my
things.
job.
This is another Abraham Hicks thing where she called it the placemat, placemat exercise, whatever. And basically, they took a placemat and wrote down the things that, the 3 or 4 things that she had to do that day. Things that Esther had to do. So if you're going to do it, write down the 3 or 4 things that you have to do that day.
Yep.
And then the other things on the other column, put all the things that need to get done that the universe can do. And what you're going to find is, if you're doing stuff in this column, some of this column's going to get filled in for you. And then the next day when you do it, you're going to do stuff in this column. And then more of this column's going to get filled in. And before you know it, the things that you're trying to create and get done and do, it's like a whole team is doing it.
Right.
You're
and
doing
that,
the,
and that actually happened because I was mentioning all the things that I had to do, and Joe had said to me, Gladys, you need a virtual assistant. And so I said, sure, that's on the column for the universe to find. Would you know that night somebody contacted me? I had been talking about this with a friend prior, and she had talked to somebody who was a virtual assistant. Would you know that night that girl contacted me and said, hey, so-and-so said you were looking for an assistant, and here are my services, and this is what I do. If you're interested, call me. And Joe had just said, Gladys, you need a virtual assistant. And then that night, somebody was in my inbox, because I immediately I released it and said, okay, I said, that's a job for the universe.
I remember
Because I'm thinking,
we
I
were
don't.
playing that day.
We were.
We're like, oh, that's for the universe. How are we
Yeah.
going to do this? Oh, and
That's
it's like,
for the universe.
yeah.
just start
And that was
shoveling the
one of
stuff
the
to the
things-
universe. But
That
there's
was one
other
of the
stuff
things
that
we
you
threw
have to
out
do.
there. Yeah.
I mean, we have to do some stuff. You can't just sit back and just like, poof, it's going to appear. But if you say, I'm going to do this part, and the universe is going to do this, it is like
Yeah.
there's a whole partnership, there's a
I
whole
was open to
matrix
it.
working together, and that's how you manifest. It really
Yeah.
is. It's
I
like,
was open to it. I was like, yeah, great. Go ahead, universe.
do your part,
Do your thing.
and let the universe do their part, and they will put the matches together.
And take the inspired action. If the actions that you're taking feel like a struggle, they don't feel good, take a nap. Get out of the energy. Do something else, because if you're fighting it, then you're working against it. You're
Forcing it.
in the negative experience, so you're actually attracting what you don't want. So when you have the inspired action, when something comes to you and you say, "Oh, I should do that," do it now. Don't say, "I should do that tomorrow," because the universe is saying now's a good time to do it.
This is where productive procrastination comes in. We're busy, but we're doing everything we don't need to be doing, right?
Yep.
Focus.
I haven't cut my grass for weeks. I haven't felt inspired. When I do feel inspired, it'll be up to here. But I joke about it. But there are certain days where I'll wake up and say, "I'm going to cut the grass today," and usually it takes me an hour and 20 minutes. It took me 45 minutes that day.
And it wasn't on the schedule, right?
It just
Just popped in, right?
Because you were
came in.
motivated, you were ready, you were driven, and it was a lot faster.
Yeah.
And
I
your
mean,
wife-
now that it's getting this
and
high,
your wife is
let's
screaming
take it.
at you in your sleep, subconsciously. Cut the lawn, cut the lawn.
Hi, everybody. If you like what you watched, please subscribe on YouTube and like us on Facebook. And check out our website at alwaysconsiderthesource.com.
Hey, if you want us to come out to your location and do a live setup, we'd love to do that. Continue to send in your questions, and we look forward to interacting with you.
And remember, always consider the source.